So one of the things we've started saying internally in the ACT team, we say our community is our superpower, but really our founders are our superstars. And so we just feel it's really important. I think a lot of this is theory, right? And it sounds good when we say we must fail and we must scale and tech can do a lot of things, but we just really want to try to now bring that alive. And one of my greatest privilege, I think, over the last year and a half has been that I've gotten the chance to speak with, 200-300 founders. And I think these are just 4, so this does not do justice to all the incredible work that's happening out there. But this is just to bring alive, some of the change that we feel we're at the brink of. So we're going to do this in a very simple format. We're going to show quick 2-3 minute videos, and then I will tag each of these founders to come up here with me. And I'm going to pose a tough question to each of you, so you can share your responses with the audience. But we will begin with Prafulla, who is building something known as VOPA. Prafulla, if you want to come and sit here while your video is playing.
Since my childhood, I was socially conscious. My family participated in various social movements, various social activities at local level. That gave me a very good exposure to various social issues, various thinkers, and what could be done about that. My name is Prafulla Shashikant. I am the co-founder of Vowels of the People Association, also known as VOPA. I grew up in a Dalit family with modest means in Marathwada. I could attend school because my parents thought education is very important for any person. After my school years, I went to engineering at Aurangabad. After my graduation, I started preparing for UPSC services. And at the same time, I attended few camps at Gadchiroli along with my friends. In those camps, I was exposed to various social thinkers and various methods of social change making. That gave me clarity that with my skills and my passion, I wanted to work in school education domain. And that gave birth to Vowels of the People Association. At VOPA, we believe that education has the power to bring about transformative change in society. VOPA strives to provide joyous and meaningful education to the most deprived and remote students in Maharashtra. To create an impact at scale, we leverage the technology and network of the government. An important aspect of this process is to train the teachers to create educational content in local languages. In 2019, when COVID hit us all, education was also impacted. Suddenly, education went online. When we studied various applications available in the market, we realized that those are not made for children. Those were designed for other purposes and now they are being used for educational purpose. None of these applications were suitable for the most deprived children for whom we were working. We built a simple platform that would host educational content in local language and also address various issues in front of the poor children. So the platform was there. What about the content? Beat district gave us 12 teachers to create the educational content for SSC class. We trained these teachers using online media and we realized that within 1 week, these teachers created beautiful educational content in local language. The content that was targeted for just 45,000 students within one district, we soon realized that it was being accessed by more than 5 lakh students across Maharashtra. VSchool has become an application available on Play Store that has been used by more than 16 lakh people, which host educational content in Marathi, semi-English and also Urdu language. It also hosts educational resources for Sanskrit subject and various scholarship exams. In the last 3 years, we have worked with various Zilla Parishads, more than 2,500 Zilla Parishad teachers for more than 3,000 chapters with 10,000 plus educational videos that are made at local level.
जर आपण शाळेत जो अभ्यास करतो आणि त्याचं एखादं उत्तर कळलं नाही ना आपल्याला ते जर घरी जाऊन आपण ते विस्कूलवर पाहिलं ना जर विस्कूल नव्हतं ना तेव्हा आम्ही शाळेत सरांना विचारतो पण जर आपल्या जे लक्षात राहिलं नाही ना शाळेत येऊन की आपल्याला हे उत्तर विचारायचं सरांना ते विचारायचंय तर घरी जाऊन आहे ना दुसऱ्या दिवशी परत विचारायला लागायचं पण आता विस्कूलवर आम्ही किती पण वेळा बघू शकतो की याचं उत्तर काय आहे त्याचं उत्तर काय आहे.
All this content is hosted on VSchool application that runs on minimal internet and can be customized for any district or any state. We aim to reach 5 million students in next 2 years. We are determined to create a positive change in how we define, create and consume the knowledge.
Prafull, social change is in some ways in your blood, right? You've had it run through your family members. You've also worked with Dr. Abhay and Abha Bhang. And there are these 3 words you once used to describe, what your community of change makers. Can you share those 3 words?
Yes, it was a very private conversation with Akanksha, and I shared that, okay, in social sector with my friends and family members and other fellows. These three words are often used. It is like kami, halu, and khara. That should be our working style. That should be our personal philosophy. So what it means is, kami means less, halu means slow, and khara means true. So that was okay. But when I started working in this sector, when we wanted to build something like this, we thought, okay, this approach is not going to work.
Yeah, so can I just quickly, and the only reason I asked Prafulla to bring this up is because I think I've been through that journey myself, right? Especially in education, and once you've been exposed to children and you see what it takes for a child to learn, you often say, look, work with few kids, do deep work, do work that's rooted in communities. So given that background, why is it that you chose, to go the tech way and build VOPA in the form that it is in now?
Okay. So I used to work at Gadchiroli and many other rural districts in Maharashtra during my previous projects, and I could see that in those villages I could get Coke, Pepsi, but our social things were not, propagating, or they were not getting used by those people. So I started thinking, okay, what is corporate doing differently? They have that kind of penetration, but our things, we were like doing street plays and having some small meetings and everything. So that was the main thing. Then again, next thing I would like to share, I'm a 90s born kid. So I have seen ki raste pe poocho kahan jana hai, and then shifted to Google Maps, internet, computer, and everything. So this change has happened within a very small period of time. And I think technology is a big part of any corporate. And technology will bring ki ease hai, use karne ka, impact hai. मुझे लगता है कि गूगल मैप जिसने बनाया है ना, ही इज़ लाइक वो बहुत बड़ा सोशल इम्पैक्ट मेकर है. कितना टाइम एनर्जी सबका बच रहा है, तो इसको हम सोशल वर्क नहीं कह सकते क्या, राइट? सो ईज ऑफ यूज़ भी है, सब यूज़ कर सकते हैं, स्केल पे चल रहा है, पेनिट्रेशन भी है. आई थिंक दीज थिंग्स आर इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड वाइल थिंकिंग कि जो हम सोल्यूशन बना रहे हैं, मे बी उर्दू मीडियम का होगा, लोकल लैंग्वेज में, अहिरनी लैंग्वेज, ट्राइबल डायलेक्ट्स में भी हमने कंटेंट बनाया है. सो अगर हम एक स्कूल के लिए बनाएंगे, एक ब्लॉक के लिए बनाएंगे, तो कब कहाँ तक पहुँचेगा? सो दैट इज़ वाई ये जो कमी हड़ू खरा था ना, उसको हमने कन्वर्ट कर लिया. हमने 3 नए वर्ड्स बना लिए. पिछले 3 साल से हम उस पर काम कर रहे हैं. एंड दोज 3 वर्ड्स आर वेरी सिंपल टू अंडरस्टैंड. दे आर कॉल्ड सत्य, शिव एंड सुंदर. सत्य इज लाइक लॉजिक एंड मीनिंगफुलनेस. शिव इज गॉडलीनेस, दैट इज स्केल एंड स्पीड. एंड सुंदर इज लाइक ब्यूटी प्लस सस्टेनेबिलिटी. So that is why I think we bet on the tech and working on the tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Prafulla. We're now going to show a quick video, Wysa, that Sandeep had also mentioned.
WHO says, for instance, that 1 in 4 people are in distress at any time. I think COVID proved that it's actually 1 in 1. Everybody needs help. Hi, I'm Ramakant. I'm one of the founders of Wysa. So Wysa is delivering clinically validated, robust solutions through a conversational AI platform anywhere to anyone across the world. So our path into mental health was very personal. Neither me nor my co-founder and spouse, Joe, we are not therapists, we are not mental health professionals. But I've been a caregiver in mental health. Joe, during the earlier part of Wysa's journey, she went through depression. So we are very familiar with founder depression. And during that process, we also realized with all the will in the world, with all the resources in the world, how hard it is for us to come forward and take help. Just to pull herself out, Joe taught herself CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And we also realized during that time how bad the solutions were out there. We decided that we had to do something about it, and that's how Wysa was born. Through the years, we've heavily focused on clinical validation and proving that Wysa works. Now we have 15 plus peer-reviewed studies and publications across the world, the largest evidence base in this space. We have published in research publications, very respected publications across the world, partnerships with the best institutions globally. And last year, the FDA gave Wysa a breakthrough device designation for our work in chronic pain. We are also the #1 highest rated app being commissioned by the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. We got this email from a 13-year-old girl 5 months after we launched, and where she wrote in and told us that she had depression, she tried to commit suicide, and this was the only thing which was helping her hold on. And that was the point when I turned from a slight skeptic into a believer and started making me focus and working harder on making something which is really special. The reasons why Wysa works is because it is conversational in nature. They can access this anytime, anywhere, even at 3 a.m. and it is non-judgmental. A lot of our users tell us that they don't feel judged. Because it's an AI avatar, it's non-human, it doesn't judge you. Since 2017, Wysa has gone from strength to strength. We are now the world's largest conversational AI platforms in mental health. We get a lot of our traffic from organic search and referral behavior. If you look for the word therapy, Wysa will come up in the top 3 on the Play stores with users across 95 countries. People from across the world have written in probably more than 200,000 reviews and ratings. Even from a clinical outcome work, we've demonstrated that there's a 31% reduction in depression, work in chronic pain, in outcomes on physical function, pain interference, anxiety, depression. Wysa is performing at par or better than therapists. One day I was thinking about and looking for a word which described depression in Hindi, and I don't think I could find one. There are 250 million people who speak Hindi in India today. The moment you start trans-adapting Wysa into Hindi, then you have a chance of reaching all those people. Then you have WhatsApp, which is used by billions of people across the world and millions in India every day. If you combine the two, then you are multiplying access and you're expanding access by 10 times, by 20 times. There's no reason why, for instance, then if you do Hindi on WhatsApp, you can't get from 6 million people served to 60 million people served. And that really is the mission. The little penguin is here to stay, and it is changing lives.
So one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, Ramakant, and this for many, many years
I
now.
found
But, we talk about two Indias, and I think especially in ed and in health, we also see that two Indias have two very different product offerings, right? There's a high-income product, and then there's typically a low-income and a low-quality product. And so one of the hypotheses that Sandeep touched on at ACT has been, can we really take proven market solutions that have worked in one segment, keep those really high-quality offerings, but really expand their scale and access over time? And it comes with its own set of challenges. So if you want to just touch a little bit on, while the intention is incredible, you're taking something that the NHS in the UK is using, what has that journey looked like with the Hindi chatbot, the truth and the hope?
Thank you, and thank you everyone for having us here. Special shout out before I say anything more to Josh Talks. It's very hard to see yourself on video, and I think you guys did a great job. I could actually see myself without flinching. But I think the challenge of taking, say, a commercial product and using a for-profit as a crucible for, say, scale or innovation, it's a hard journey, and it is a change. It's probably a process which we are also learning as we go through. But broadly speaking, I think there are 4 places which I think there are 4 areas where you are learning as you evolve. One is taking, say, a team in a startup and converting them into a mission-driven. Already Wysa is very mission-driven in the work we are doing, even in the commercial space. But converting them from there into a complete impact mindset. So, the team we have working. So Smriti, who trained abroad in the US and came back, and now she's a clinical psychologist. She couldn't be here. She had a bereavement in the family. Ipsit, our product lead, he's an ex-startup founder, IITian, wanted to go into the IS, decided to come and join Wysa and work on impact. Ria, she worked at Bain, Dalberg, and then came and joined Wysa. So these people are very motivated, and they want to come and solve a very large problem, but you need to give them avenues, you need to give them momentum and a path to scale. To keep them motivated, to keep them within the team, it's not easy. And I think that's one of the things internally we need to figure out and maintain, and with, I think, the help of ACT grants and all the people in this room, hopefully we'll be able to do that. So that's one challenge. It's how do you create and sustain the team and hold them together as you grow older and as you grow bigger. I think the second is the product itself, because we've learned a lot in our English, and we've now have a version in Spanish, for example, where we're taking this into the Hispanic world, the US. But Hindi is a different ballgame, and we have some learnings what we've done from English, but will they translate into Hindi? We have a hypothesis, and we will learn. But I think the one thing we bring to the table is the commitment that feedback loop is there, and we are able to listen and adapt very quickly. So that's the frame or the mind frame which we have. And I think that is something which will, I think, stand us in good stead, but also very, very aware that this is only the start of the journey. And there's going to be, I think we already, for example, started getting feedback from a lot of colleagues from ACT about the Hindi product, saying, isme ye kar do, isme wo kar do. So that, I think, process will evolve and will keep changing. And I think the commitment is to stay like that and keep changing. I think the other 2 factors are more external, where One, of course, is resources. And I think Sandeep and Mohit, you put it really well, saying that grants are just a bridge to a business model. And, but that's a pathway which is also evolving, and I think a lot of people in this room will help us get there for the Hindi product. Saying, how do you create an independent, sustainable business unit which can actually operate at scale without needing any more further grants? And that is a path we will have to go through. And I think it's a learning we have to go through. For example, we are a for-profit. I don't have an FCRA, so I cannot take grant financing. But how do I still get grant financing to sustain the effort and reach that path where this starts spinning money on its own? So that's, I think, the third challenge. And the fourth one, I think, is more around access. Because again, there are a lot of people in this room who have bridges to communities in need. And probably the willingness and potential to pay. Or maybe it's the user who pays. But even getting to those people is not an easy task. I mean, you can go to the Play Store, you can go to the App Store. But there are other ways in which you can get access to this community in need. And I think that is where probably all of us can work together. So that's the fourth kind of learning which we'll have to kind of do together as we are on this journey. But yeah.
Really well shared. Thank you, Ramakant. I just want to maybe add to your point. We see this on both sides, right? We see a lot of NGOs that we're working with who are now trying to take the roadmap towards a more tech product. And then we see folks like you who have a really great product but are trying to conquer new markets. I think 2, 3, and 4, we can come together as a community and solve for. But I do find that DNA of the organization is possibly the first most important thing to actually overcome. And I've seen that really come alive as a big make or break factor on both sides. So thank you for that, really sharply shared. We're going to switch gears to environment, and very excited to share a quick video from Farmers for Forest.
Our farmers are facing many problems: declining agricultural yields, degraded land, depleting groundwater tables. In addition to this, what we're seeing is that because of climate change, there's erratic rainfall, extreme weather events like cyclones, floods. All of these are very severely and adversely impacting the income of our farmers. Hi, my name is Krutika Ravishankar. I am one of the co-founders at Farmers for Forests. At Farmers for Forests, what we're trying to do is we're working very closely with farmers and other agrarian and indigenous communities to both protect and restore forest cover. We're doing this to sequester large amounts of carbon, protect biodiversity, and also to increase farmer income through sustainably harvested and climate resilient forest produce as well as carbon credits. One of the things that we do is we use a blended finance model. So here what we do is we use philanthropic funding and government schemes like the MG Narega or other schemes, and then for we link them to the voluntary carbon credit market. Essentially, when you're replanting a forest or you're afforesting a degraded piece of land, you're sequestering very large amounts of carbon from the air. You're also doing a lot of sequestration in the soil. All of this carbon sequestration is then independently measured by an auditor and verified by a standard body. These carbon dioxide credits can then be sold to companies. Companies use it to offset their carbon emissions that they are not able to decarbonize. So there are many reasons why we decided to focus on forests. In addition to sequestering vast amounts of carbon, forests also provide a range of other ecosystem benefits. They provide biodiversity, a habitat for endangered species. They are a source of food, fuel, fodder, and medicine. And in addition to that, they provide livelihood to nearly 250 million people in India.
I'm Aditya Avinashe, working as a Chief Operating Officer at Farmers for Forest. So from a team of 4, we have grown to a team of more than 50 members in the past few years. Our impact extends across 2,500 acres of land spread across 6 districts of Maharashtra. Through our efforts, we have touched the lives of more than 500 farmers. We have helped the farmers increase their income by 30 to 40%.
सारे पेड़ फार्मर फॉर फॉरेस्ट ने लगाए हैं, लेकिन जमीन पर पूरा अधिकार हमारा है। 5 साल के लिए किराए के करार के बावजूद जमीन पर उगने वाली हर चीज हमारी होगी जो हम बेच सकते हैं। आने वाले सालों में पेड़ों पर जो फल निकलेंगे या फिर जो लकड़ी मिलेगी, वो सब हमारी होगी।
Over the years, the farmers have started relying more on the forest and agroforestry, as it makes more contribution and reliable source to their income. Based on the impact that we have created on the ground, we aim to expand our projects to the new geographies with an immediate plan to expand into the state of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand in the next 1 year. We also want to work on the various projects under the ideas of protecting the existing forest, creating the new forest and restoring the degraded lands, at least for about 50,000 hectares of land in the next 5 years.
Krutika, if you want to come up here, I've been instructed to bring all of you right here in the middle. Sustainability has come up now quite a few times, and I know y'all are thinking about it, again, from an interesting way. That's it. I'm just going to leave the question there. Tell us, how can social enterprises just think about sustainability better, especially in the area that you're working in?
Right. So hi, everyone. So if you look at non-profits, you can look at them as essentially correcting a market failure in some cases. So in our case, it was the fact that, you know, nature is providing all of these incredible ecosystem services, everything from carbon sequestration to high quality soil to fresh water, biodiversity, all of these things. But our global economic systems are not pricing this in very well. You also have environmental externalities that are, again, not being priced. So how do you correct this? And one answer you often get is, you know, agrotourism or sustainably harvested, forest produce, all of these things. But that's still not pricing the essential service that they're providing, right? So what we decided to do is, in the first step, how do you use tech? So there's been a lot of advances in geospatial technology. You have amazing satellite data available. You have drones. So how do you use this to essentially measure all of these things like carbon sequestration, biodiversity? You have AI to help with all of this. So how do you measure it in the first step? And then in the next step, how do you get communities to follow more of these sustainable practices, whether it's protecting forests or restoring forests? And then in the third step, which is where I think ACT really helped us, is now how do you get the market to pay for this, right? Like, in addition to all of your forest produce and all of that, how do you get the market to pay for things like carbon sequestration, things like biodiversity, things like wildlife? So I think luckily for us, in the last decade, the carbon markets moved from renewable energy towards more nature-based solutions. So I think that kind of helped create a bridge. So philanthropy sort of created that bridge that we could use to develop really high-quality carbon projects. But if you look at carbon market prices, they're still not what they could be in terms of, if you look at the social cost of carbon or what it costs the economy to emit 1 ton of carbon. So essentially, the way we look at sustainability is you have philanthropy, you have the government. They're kind of pushing you or like holding you up till the market reaches that place where it can price these things accurately. And even with the carbon markets, what we're really looking at is, because everyone's just looking at it from the carbon angle, but you also have biodiversity, you also have water, you have all of these other things, which are still not being priced as well. But it's a huge opportunity because now you have the technology, you have the data, and you have hopefully willing finance through both philanthropy, government, and the markets. So yeah, long answer, but.
Okay, and I just want to prepare everyone for the last video. Supriya's here, Shobit's co-founder. So in the video, you'll see a very excited Shobit. And I've tried to trick Shobit, and I've asked him this question many different ways, many times. Like, why do you really do this work? You know, what's the driving force behind Josh? And he's always come back and said, look, I really want to try to maximize human potential. So you'll see Shobit, and then we'll have Supriya come and answer the last tough question for today.
आज की डेट में अगर करियर में किसी को आगे बढ़ना है ना, तो द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ इंग्लिश कैन नॉट बी एम्फसाइज्ड इनफ। इंग्लिश ना हमारी लाइफ का एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट बन गया है। चाहे हमें कॉलेज में बात करनी है, वहां पे अंग्रेजी है, कोई भी जॉब इंटरव्यू है, वहां पर अंग्रेजी है, सीवी बनाना है वो अंग्रेजी में है, लिंक्डइन बनाना है वो अंग्रेजी में है। इफ समबडी इज करियर ओरिएंटेड एंड वांट्स टू डू वेल इन देयर लाइफ, दे कैन नॉट डिस्काउंट द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ इंग्लिश। मेरा नाम शोभित है, मैं जोश टॉक्स का को-फाउंडर हूँ। मेरे को ना बहुत टाइम से इस बात का गुस्सा था, कुछ फंडामेंटली गलत है और मेरे को लगता है हम इसके बारे में कुछ कर सकते हैं। इसीलिए 4 साल पहले मैंने डिसाइड किया कि हम इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करेंगे। हम देश के हर एक युवा को फ्लुएंट इंग्लिश बोलनी सिखाएंगे। तो अपना प्रोडक्ट बनाने से पहले हमने ये अप्रोच किया कि जो भी और प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं वो हम जोश टॉक्स के यूजर्स को देंगे। हमने 20-20 यूजर के सेट बनाए और जो 5 हमें अच्छे प्लेटफॉर्म्स लगे, हमने उन 20-20 यूजर्स को उनके पेड सब्सक्रिप्शन खरीद के दे दी। द रिजल्ट्स वर वेरी डिसअपॉइंटिंग। 2 प्रॉब्लम सामने आई। पहली प्रॉब्लम, कोई कोर्स कंप्लीट ही नहीं करता। इनफैक्ट ग्लोबल $1 बिलियन कंपनीज जैसे कि कोर्सेरा की कोर्स कंप्लीशन रेट 2.5 से 3% है। फॉर द फ्यू पीपल हु एक्चुअली डिड गो एंड कंप्लीट द कोर्स, देयर वाज नो प्रेडिक्टेबिलिटी इन वर दे एबल टू लर्न टू स्पीक इंग्लिश और नॉट। हमारा जो एजेंडा है कोर्स कंप्लीट करवाना है, बिकॉज़ अगर कोर्स कंप्लीट नहीं करवाएंगे तो कोई इंग्लिश नहीं सीखेगा। तो वी हैड टू फिगर आउट अ वे कि लोगों को कुछ भी करके 90 दिनों तक उस ऐप पर रखना है। अब अगर लोग इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग की वजह से नहीं रहेंगे तो वजह ही बदल दो। मेरा कमरा 4थी मंजिल पे था। रोज मैं जब ऊपर नीचे जाता था तो कुछ बच्चे बैठ रहे थे पूरा दिन और लूडो किंग खेल रहे होते थे। वो एक ही गेम में 4 बच्चे खेल रहे होते थे, बट सीढ़ियों पे बैठ के बातें आपस में कर रहे होते थे। मेरे को एक आइडिया आया, क्या हम एक ऐसी ऐप बनाएं जहां पर लोग आए तो मजे करने, जैसे कि लूडो किंग खेलने, लेकिन वहां माहौल सारा इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग का हो। तो हमने जब ऐप लॉन्च की, हमने उसमें एक फीचर डाला विच इज प्रैक्टिस पार्टनर। इसमें एक स्टूडेंट जब ऐप पे आता है, वो एक बटन दबाता है दैट कनेक्ट्स हिम टू अनदर पर्सन हु इज लर्निंग टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, एंड अब ये दोनों लोग इंग्लिश में बात कर सकते हैं। द रिजल्ट्स ब्लू आवर माइंड अवे। जो कंप्लीशन रेट्स 4-5-6% हुआ करते थे, वो कंप्लीशन रेट्स शॉट अप to over 30%. On an average, a student started to spend over 50 minutes on the app a day. Not just completion rates, we were also able to build a product जहाँ पर प्रिडिक्टेबल तरीके से हम एक यूजर को 2 लेवल्स उसकी इंग्लिश में मूव कर देते हैं ऊपर। It took us 2 years to build that feature into an incredible product, and today Josh Talks English speaking app has over 3.5 lakh paid students. English is a low ARPU product. English बिकता है 500 रुपए से 2000 रुपए के आसपास में। अब इस लो ARPU की प्रॉब्लम ये है कि एक बड़ा बिजनेस बनाने के लिए hundreds of millions of users में स्केल करना पड़ेगा, and hundreds of millions of users को एक्वायर करने के लिए एक ही जरिया है, वो है पेड मार्केटिंग। हम भी कई यूजर्स को पेड से एक्वायर करते हैं, लेकिन हमारी कॉस्ट पर एक्विजिशन 7 से 8 रुपए ही है। तो जो बाकी एप्स रेवेन्यू पर इंस्टॉल कर रही हैं 20 रुपए का, कॉस्ट पर इंस्टॉल 18 रुपए पे, वो जोश टॉक्स कर पा रहा है 7 रुपए पे। इनफैक्ट जोश टॉक्स के व्यूज की और कॉस्ट पर इंस्टॉल की एक डायरेक्ट कोरिलेशन है। जब जोश टॉक्स के बहुत व्यूज आते हैं तो कॉस्ट पर इंस्टॉल और भी कम हो जाता है। स्टार्ट करने के कुछ ही महीनों बाद मुझे एक मैसेज आया एक यूजर का, उसका नाम था दीपक। वो रहता था बिहार के मधुबनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट में। उसने मुझे कहा कि शोभित, आपने मेरे लाइफ में क्रांति ला दी है। क्रांति, रेवोल्यूशन। दीपक ने ऑन एवरेज दिन में 6 घंटे बात की थी ऐप पे। शायद दीपक की लाइफ में हम क्रांति ला पाए हों, लेकिन अब ये काफी नहीं है। क्या हम देश को एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट दे पाएंगे जो गांव-गांव में देश के हर एक युवा को अंग्रेजी सिखा पाएगा? कैन वी टीच 100 मिलियन पीपल इंग्लिश इन द नेक्स्ट 10 years?
Join me here. The question that's been causing Kranti, at least for us, has been this, right? Like, how do you really create an incredible product, but how do you also build sustainability as a for-profit edtech company? So do you want to share a little bit about that journey, and again, what have been your key lessons as you've been working with a very excited Shobit?
Absolutely. I'd like to begin by saying have a co-founder who shows up when you bail. Shobit was supposed to be here, but I'm filling in for him. But I think just answering Akanksha's question now, one very interesting thing that we learned in our entire journey of moving from a media platform, which is what Josh Talks is, where we actually produce some of these stories that you've seen here today, to building a product that teaches Bharat English, is that English is a critical problem to solve. Everyone knows that they have this problem. They don't want to spend time or money in solving this problem. So how do you, as a social entrepreneur who believes in a problem, tries to communicate to the person who should be learning that this is something that's going to change your life forever? So I think that's been one of our biggest challenges to solve for. And we've been able to make good headway using our Josh Talks platform to actually, instill that value or drive that if you learn English, you'll actually be able to do something in life. As a result of which, like Shobit mentioned, we've been able to reduce our cost of acquisition drastically. Everything that we've built up until now is through organic marketing, and we are a company that's going to be profitable next month. So that's been a very big win, and this is only for English learning as an app. The second thing has been to kind of develop that product DNA. We are a content DNA focused company, and moving into that has been really inspiring because you know, a lot of our team members, including Shobit, have actually lived in Bihar for months at a time. And this insight of Ludo King is what's actually got us to win today. When these 4 kids are sitting and they're just talking while playing that game, that's the exact same behavior that's replicated on our app. People are talking about cracking their UPSC exams. People are preparing for their job interviews. People are talking about mental health issues also that they're facing. They're connecting and making friends, and they're doing it all in English. So as a result of creating a social network of finding like-minded people, people learn English in such a short period of time, which is 90 days, and we're grateful to them.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Supriya. I'm going to now try to bring this to a close. We have just about 10 minutes left together. The third theme we quickly do want to touch on, which is an important one, is, you know, we're fairly all generalists here at ACT. And so one of the really important key ingredient for us has been experts. Many of the advisors are sitting here today, but there are a group of people that I do want to just call out and thank quite explicitly. Our COVID journey, you know, we would have just remained a group of well-intentioned people had it not been for folks like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, United Way, they're in the room. If you're here in the room, just raise your hands quickly, please. Yeah, United Way, I know you're here, yes. You know, individuals like Dr. Nachiket Moore, Dr. Ajay Nair, Satwa, who were just a bedrock of support to us during that time. And as we've grown in our verticals, you know, Ashish Dhawan, Central Square Foundation, TCF, I'm not seeing people raise their hands in our journey with education, with Act for Women, McKinsey, the Udayati Foundation. I know y'all are here, I need to see hands. Vivek, where are you? And last but not least, in environment, Green Eartha, Starlene, you better stand up right now. There she is. Rain Matter Foundation, Nilikani Foundation, and many, many more who I'm missing right now. So just, again, a deep sense of gratitude for the expertise that's really supplementing just the good energy and passion and the good at heartedness that we're all trying to bring here. With that, just a mini announcement, another partnership that we're very, very excited about. It's the Global Health Labs. GH Labs, Sandeep and the health team know about this deeply, but we thought while we have everyone in the room, we'll quickly take a minute to acknowledge that.
So just quickly introducing Dr. Stephen Kern, who's the president and interim CEO of GH Labs. From 2013 to 2022, he was the deputy director of quantitative sciences at the Gates Foundation. Prior to that, Steve was global head of pharmacology modeling at Novartis in Switzerland, where he led a team focused on providing model-based drug development support to therapeutics in many disease conditions across different stages of drug development. GH Labs is a non-profit that's fully funded by Gates Ventures, and they work on really reducing health disparities across lower income and middle income countries. So now we posed a question to Steve, who couldn't be here in person today, unfortunately. But he shared some thoughts on the 3 biggest trends that mission-driven entrepreneurs and funders should be aware of when it comes to leveraging technology solutions, innovation, and AI to solve health challenges for the most vulnerable populations at scale. So we'll just hand over to the video for this.
One thing I wanted to address were 3 big trends for mission-driven entrepreneurs like the people here gathered today. So how do we leverage those technology solutions to benefit the most vulnerable populations at scale? Well, one big area that many of you are aware of is the increased use of AI, and particularly to support areas where there's significant clinical support gaps. And by that, I mean places where there's just an unmanageable patient to caregiver ratio. So too many patients for the number of physicians or nurse practitioners or community health workers, or ashas that might be present to be able to serve them? How do we use the technology to essentially extend and benefit those patients and use the talents of the people themselves? So importantly, we want to be able to also address places where there's large distance that separates people in need of healthcare and those services. So building on the great backbone that the ABDM system has that exists in India that has been created, and essentially try to leverage those kinds of innovations that are in place so that good solutions for healthcare provision to patients can happen almost irrespective of where they live. And importantly, we want to make sure that we're increasing the impact of those limited resources, that is the caregivers and the people that are serving the patients, rather than replace them. The goal is not to replace people with an AI or clinicians with AI, but actually to allow them to leverage their capabilities using the technology to deliver service better, more effectively at broader range to greater patient numbers. So second important characteristic to consider is building systems that can accept variation in ground truth. Typical AI systems that are based on quantitative signals have an output that they know to be the goal or the target of what they're trying to achieve, and then are essentially built and modeled or adapted based on inputs versus those desired outputs. It's important to recognize that in clinical medicine, ground truth can vary between individuals. There can be various interpretations of clinical signals like an X-ray image or a test result. And so it's important that we build AI systems that acknowledge these variations and work with them in a positive way to basically structure a suitable output. So for instance, rather than having an AI system that forces the answer to be into a dichotomous yes, no, or present, absent kind of condition, also being able to accept that an indeterminate state might be the right output, and then the clinician judgment comes in to help weigh which direction the decision ultimately moves. Last, I also think it's critical to structure our AI solutions with consideration of the fundamental principles of that signal processing and the characteristics of the signal that you want to explore. By that, I mean that if we're trying to measure something or to do something that takes a few seconds or maybe even a longer period of time to understand and characterize, it's important that they measure that signal long enough to get the right duration, rather than taking just single snapshots or instances and trying to use AI to essentially extract some insight from there. I think there's a tendency when we have a lot of data to be able to just throw AI approaches to try to understand and develop relationships between those. But importantly, structuring the way the data is presented to the technology and the artificial intelligence approach can really help improve the capability of that technology to identify and detect the signal that you want to explore. So these important trends, I think, are going to play forward in the development of new technologies. And I'd like to actually mention that we are working on an opportunity with the ACT Fund and GH Labs to work collaboratively together. We're putting together a memorandum of understanding where we can bring our lab team to work in collaboration with ACT Fund to help identify opportunities for innovation, explore new innovative ideas together, and partner in a way that we can use our model and the ACT Fund model collaboratively with many of you who may be in the room to create solutions that will help people across all of the geography of India. So thank you for your time. I apologize that I couldn't be there with you today directly, but I look forward to hearing about the results from your meeting today. Thank you.
So as Steve mentioned towards the end, I think we couldn't be more excited to have GH Labs join us and really partner with Act for Health and hopefully many of the organizations in the room and leverage their expertise to create better solutions.